Oh, Malibu. Yeah, that's right. So we're taking off the bad stuff and putting on the good stuff. Got a couple brake lines made already going to the front, right and front left wheels. Got the brake booster out of the way. Now we can get to the fuel lines. So the main feed line is the one that's super corroded. It's a 3/8 inch line. And what's the easiest, most reliable way to fix the whole thing? We need to replace the fuel line from here all the way back to the tank. I got a fuel filter, an adapter, and 3/8 inch nickel copper or copper nickel line. So I think I'm going to just cut that hose, the main feed hose, because that's not coming apart. You know, quick connects, all that garbage. We don't need that. We want to simplify the whole system. So I'm going to slip my cutters right in here and snip off this hose like that. So there's the remains. That's where the line, our second leak was. So let's try to use this hose now. Nice end. I think a 3/8 inch line. We'll put a little flare on it, stick it in, hose clamp it, then run a line all the way back to the tank. So I have this piece of 3/8 inch line. I don't know how far back it'll reach, but first thing I want to do is put a little flare on this end. We don't want to do a full flare so it'll still fit in the hose, but just enough for the hose clamp to grab onto. You know, this is what, 40 psi, so it should hold just fine. So you can see that, just a slight flare. Perfect. So that will go into that fuel line. So let's install that and see how far back this line reaches. And then we can use a compression fitting right here and then make another section that goes from the fuel filter to here. Alright, so successful hose clamp with the flare. The flare goes all the way through here. So that, I'm confident in that. We'll just let it go on this side of the steering rack so we don't have to bend the pipe, you know, 180 degrees. And that's it. Now let's start attaching it and see how far it goes back towards the back of the car. Alright, here's the progress so far. We got our Nycop 3/8 inch line from there. Got in the clips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and right here is a little tricky spot. So here's a new fuel filter with a Dorman adapter that screws in. So this side just snaps into the nylon hose coming from the fuel pump, and then I bent the metal line kind of in a loop, and somewhere in here I want to cut off the remains of the nickel copper line and put in a compression fitting. I think that will be the easiest solution. So we can kind of adjust this, kind of tweak this, make sure we're in the right length, put in that fitting, tighten her down, clip that in, and I want to run the fuel pump before putting anything else on, any of the other brake lines, to make sure we have no leaks. Alright, let's do a quick fuel pump test. So just hooking up the Tornado 90,000, let's set it to 13.5 volts. Okay, now the fuel pump relay is number 18. Let's see, micro relays 18 is fuel pump, and just looking at the pins, pin 87 is right here, pin 30 is on the opposite side, so it's going to go like this. So adapter's in there. Let's try just to send 1 amp. You know, the pump will spin a little bit. We don't want full pressure just yet. Did I unhook anything else? We have no light. Should have 13.5 volts. Is the fuse box hot? Let's let me grab a test light. Alright, so I got a 4 amp test light from battery positive, and it's got to be one of these pins. So that's a straight ground. Oh, there we go. So we definitely build pressure. Let's go into the car and check for leaks. So everything is looking amazing. No leaks there. No leaks at our compression fitting. There's the nylon hose. Let's run the pump full speed for a little while and make sure everything's good. Amp clamp. I'm going to jump straight battery positive to the fuel pump. There we go. Fuel pressure regulator opened up. Bleeding out the lines. 6 amps. Let's run it for a little bit. Make sure we have no leaks. Looks good. Looks beautiful. Awesome. Alright. Still 6 amps. Excellent. So now we have to finish up the brake lines, install the brake booster, master cylinder, and I guess we could flush the heater core. The hoses are right there. Give the owner of this car a little Christmas present, give him some heat in the winter, and then it should be done. Alright, so all the brake lines under the car are complete. Fuel lines are done. We have to wrap up this mess over here. So what I want to do, even though the customer said, you know, he's on a budget, and just want to give him a freebie. We'll back flush his heater core so he has some nice heat in the winter. A little Christmas present. So, nozzle, adapter. So this hose right here is the outlet hose, but we want to force water into there, and then it's going to come back on the inlet hose, which I detached, and that is pointed towards my pan with an extension. So let me squirt some water and we'll see how much crap comes out of the heater core. Alright, here we go. Let's see what comes out. That's good flow. Alright. Good enough for me. Alright, here's our work of art. Look at those beautiful NICOP lines. They will definitely outlast the car. So let's pressure bleed the system. This is the quickest way. So right here I have a GM master cylinder cap. I just drilled a hole, put a Prester bicycle or a tire valve in there. Now the OEM procedures say you can put up to 30 psi in there. We don't have to go that high. So the reservoir is full of fluid. Let's open up the nozzle and dial up the pressure a little bit. And it says start with the right rear. So we're going to crack this bleeder loose. And we'll see if the fluid should start coming out. Now remember, it's all new lines, so it might take a little while to get here. We should dial up the pressure a little bit, or pump the brakes. Alright. Alright, sweet. We're getting some fluid through. Looks clean. So on the left front, the pressure is definitely working. See some bubbles coming through. Alright, that looks good. Let's move on to the left rear wheel. Alright, left rear, crack the bleeder. See bubbles coming out of the line, that's good. Just wait until we get fluid right here. Last but not least, right front. There we go. Don't see any more bubbles. Let's see how the brakes feel. Oh yeah, we got a pedal. Sweet. So we can go through all four wheels real quick, just make sure there's no little bubbles. But we're back in business. Alright, let's take the Malibu on maiden voyage. You got some live data. Let's fire it up. Alright, so we're in closed loop. Upstream oxygen sensor is oscillating. Short term 3%, long term 0%. So we definitely fixed the customer complaint. Now let's take it for a test drive. We did not replace the thermostat, so that'll get up to 150, but we'll see if it blows any warm air at all. Alright, it's the next morning. We're cruising in the 2003 Chevy Malibu after all of the repairs. Only thing we haven't done is replace the thermostat. Now, the heat is actually decent. It's warm now. Before, there was no heat at all. So back flushing the heater core, you know, helped a lot. But take a look at scan data. We're cruising at 145 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when the thermostat's opening. It warms up fast until 145, and then it's just flatline. So it should be around 200 fully warmed up. So that would give you a lot better heat, and we're trying to pass all the emissions monitors, and that's a variable. If your coolant temp doesn't get to operating temperature, some of the monitors may not run. Because when this car came in, I know the catalyst monitor hadn't run, but it had that lean code. So we're going to take it around the block, see what happens. You know, it's a cold start trip, and see which monitor's set. If they don't all set, I'm going to recommend to the customer, you know, while it's here, it's another, whatever, 200 bucks to replace the thermostat, parts and labor, OEM, and that will make this car correct. So I think that would be a very wise investment at this point if he wants to pass his emissions inspection. And then, as a bonus, you'll have really nice heat in the winter. Right now I'm bundled up because the heat is just not not the way it's supposed to be right now, and it's in the 20s outside and cold and windy. So we'll see how monitors pass after about 10 miles. After a 15-mile test drive, these monitors are not setting. We have catalyst not ready, evap not ready, O2 sensor not ready, and EGR not ready. On an older car like this, those monitors should have run on the first test drive. So I'm going to tell the customer, car's ready, it's drivable, it's reliable, but if you want to pass emissions inspections, and if you want to have good heat, invest the, you know, extra few $100 bucks, replace the thermostat. I already got it in stock, so hopefully he'll go for that. That'll be the wise thing to do, and we'll wrap this thing up. It's almost there. It's driving real nice. Brakes work great. No more lean condition. And we have some heat, which is nice on a day like today. So I called up the owner of the Chevy Malibu and told him we're not going to get these monitors to run if we don't replace the thermostat. And as a bonus, you'll get a much better heat in the winter and better fuel economy once we replace the thermostat. So he agreed. He said, let's do it. So here it is, brand new GM genuine thermostat from Rock Auto. But to get to it, it lives right under the throttle body here. Got to remove this pipe and peel back the onion, battery, air box, and let's pop it in, bleed the cooling system, and take this thing on a test drive and see if the monitors pass and what the operating temperature is. So labor time for this thermostat is 2 hours. Why is that? Battery's out, air box is out. There are 2 bolts. One of them, the easy one's up top, but you can see this crossover pipe, the exhaust pipe, is in the way of the bottom bolt. How the heck are you supposed to get on that bottom one? There it is. Can't really sneak to it from the bottom. Like, I can touch it with my finger. Maybe a crow's foot with an extension. Maybe this heat shield can come off. I don't know how it's attached. I mean, everything's rusty. These fasteners are not coming out. I'll tell you that right now. So we have to figure out how to get that bottom bolt out without taking this exhaust pipe off. I'm sure you could, but it won't be friendly. Even if we get it off, putting it back on is going to be a pain in the butt. Might snap some studs. So I want to get that bottom bolt out without disturbing the exhaust system. Alright, so I got that sucker cracked loose just using a short closed end wrench. So we're gonna have to do it 1 notch at a time. It's really painful, but it is turning, so that's promising. You can see you got to do the reach around, move around that exhaust pipe. So let me do that, and then we need to see. Do we need to disconnect this pipe? I think if we just undo it from a hose here or here, it can go side to side. We just need to move this thing over, and hopefully that's enough room to get the thermostat out of there. It is very tight. See, the coolant's already starting to drip out. Alright, so at least GM thought this through a little bit. The bottom bolt you just have to loosen up, but it's cut out, so look at the housing can move now. I got the top bolt out. Now let's release it and drain the coolant. Make sure it's going into the pan. Yep, looks good. And try to sneak that thermostat out. We know it's there, it's just opening too early. Now hopefully there's enough room to sneak that out, or I might have to back that bolt out just a little bit more. Oh man, it's so close. You can see the thermostat, but not quite. Because it's hitting the exhaust pipe, it's hitting the throttle body. It needs a few more millimeters, literally. And then this pipe is hitting this bracket. So what's the most reliable, safest thing to do? I don't want to touch this fitting because look at it. It's going to start leaking if we mess with it. How about we take this bracket off? It's 2 big bolts, so we can kind of pivot and slide this sucker back. Hopefully it'll clear the thermostat. Alright, victory is near, so pivoting the bracket back gave us enough room to wiggle that off. There's the thermostat. Get that out of there. There it is. That's caught in the exhaust pipe. That's caught in the transmission. Alright, there it is. Oh man, that's gasket's shot. Let's see if it's original. 14mm, probably is. So let's pop the new one in. Hopefully we can squeeze that pipe in there without any hassle. Well, it looks pretty much identical. Let's pop the new one in. So now we want to bleed the cooling system, and what's the most efficient way to do that? Well, here's our reservoir. The level, is right around here. where's the highest point in the system? It looks like it's this heater hose line that we actually undid yesterday to flush the heater core. So I want to bleed the air out through here. That's the highest point in the system. And to do that, see, right now I had this side of the car leveled so we wouldn't lose too much coolant out of the reservoir. Now I want to lower this side and raise that side so the coolant level, it will be higher than that heater hose. Add coolant until all the bubbles come out and the coolant will start flowing right there, and then we'll be done. So we'll lower this side of the car. Raise this side of the car. Take off this hose. Might have to add some to the reservoir. You see there's no coolant in there right now. So let's top this guy off. And we should get coolant coming out of there. So we didn't lose too much, less than half a gallon. Let's try that. I think it's full. Yep, we're done. And we'll just level the car, top that off, take this baby for a spin. Alright, so we got a low coolant light. That's probably because the level dropped in the reservoir and the float didn't come back up. I know it's full to the brim, so we'll check that once we get back from our test drive. OBD2 mode, only 3 monitors completed, 5 not completed, so I don't expect all of them to complete on this test drive after disconnecting the battery, but let's take a look at our coolant temp and make sure that it goes up to the appropriate level. Set 6 data pits, do throttle position, and let's graph that. Okay, so we're at 107, warming up. Trims are good, oxygen sensors are alive. Let's take it for a spin. So driving over the potholes on the lane here, coolant light went off, self-healing problem. Look, the needle's already starting to rise. So I expect it to rise to the middle now instead of that quarter mark once we reach operating temperature. Alright, we're fully warmed up. It got up to 199, now it dropped to 192. So thermostat opened up right there. Perfect. Look at the fuel trim, single digits. We got really nice heat now, just like expected. Let's keep cruising, see if the monitors, the emissions monitor is actually complete. I'm hoping that they will. I don't know if they'll do it on this test drive, but at least on the next cold start test drive. Well, after driving this for half an hour at 60 miles an hour, we still have catalyst not ready, evap, and EGR. So that will definitely need another drive cycle. The oxygen sensor monitor did pass, so that's good. We'll be back on the next test drive. You see how time consuming this is for people who want to pass the emissions inspection.